I'm part of 7 counties. My largest city is Bagley of 1,200 people. So door knocking is its own unique experience.
When I was running the first time, there was a man who was at one of our events, and he said, it's really nice that your husband, at that time, I'm divorced now, but it's really nice that he's babysitting the kids for you. I'm like, nah, bro, those are his kids. He's not babysitting nobody.
Here in the Twin Cities, it's a little different. At least in Minneapolis, in my race, there were a number of women who ran. But the thing that becomes difficult is running as a mother. That women who have responsibilities to other people, especially, young people, that actually becomes something that people don't know how to place you. I think also as we age, I was considered old. I'm 45. So this ageism, I think that also occurs for women at a much quicker rate than it occurs for men.
And I say this even as someone who, doesn't have kids. Like, I still have my parents, and once my mom was like, hey, can you help make dinner? But I was like, hey, this is in the middle of call time, right? Like, I, as a young person, might have more luxury, but I also don't if I have to help babysit my nieces and nephews or have other familial obligations.
For me, when I ran, I had a 6-figure income. And so I could run, I had flexibility, so I could run and run to the best of my ability. But some folks don't necessarily have the means, or they feel or believe they don't have the means to run for office. So on the issue of socioeconomic and power, how would you say that this either keeps people in office or prevents people from running for office based on what you've seen?
I said, because of the low compensation, it's only $11,000, a little bit over $11,000 for a part-time job. No one's going to give up their full-time job or give up their full-time compensation. And again, it's all about saying that power and decision only belongs to a few who can afford it. And so it truly is an elimination of who can make a decision. And to your point, there's a lot of people who say, well, if you can't even take care of your home situation and be stable enough financially to do this for free or to volunteer, then you shouldn't be here. That's not how it works. Not when you're making decisions for thousands and thousands of people and they come from all economic classes, all backgrounds. That's not. Policy doesn't work that way.
Like, nobody asks men how they're going to juggle parenthood and being in office. They only ask like women and mothers that question, which is so wrong. They're parents too, and they need to take care of their kids. So the double standards are just like infuriating. And the state legislature is also considered part-time, and it's a huge barrier for people to be able to run for office. I'm fortunate that my employer is supportive, and I'll be able to serve in the legislature and keep my job. But it's very hard for people to figure out that balance and to be able to be in session for those many months, right? Being compensated $48,000 for the year is not enough for people to pay. It's not enough for me to pay my bills. It's not enough for me to pay my mortgage and my second mortgage and student loans, which is literally the same price as my mortgage. So I have to have another job.
Experience here as a person who rents and is a parent, a single parent 50% of the time, and got into the race when I was working in nonprofit activism, which is not a particularly well-paid field, that I've now had to leave that job after winning the primary because of conflict. And I will just say that this situation around what it means to run as a person who is middle class, but not by that much, but has a lot of privilege in the world, and then is raising 2 kids and currently doesn't have a job, is extremely, extremely difficult.
So we get paid $600 a month on this school board in Robbinsdale, and it's gas money, literally. It's gas money. But when I started on the board, it was my only income. I was not 6 figures. I did not have a job. I went through a major life change. in my marital status, my living arrangement, I had less than zero. And I was on this board.
The end of the spectrum. So when I was running, I had no income. I was still living with my mom. I'm not established. I am far from rich. So how am I going to fund this campaign? And with conversations with people, they'll be like, oh, no, it's okay. You just have to fundraise. The money is not coming from you. You just have to fundraise. You don't have to be rich. But the catch with that too is you have to know people who are rich. And realistically speaking, in America, we're surrounded mostly by people who within our social economic income. So I think at the time, what really helped me was being connected to somebody who previously ran for the council. My incumbent was very, very helpful in making those connections for me and vouching for me. With the income that they pay us at the city council is not much. And I know our House representatives will say the same thing. And I know our senators will say the same thing, right? It's not a livable income. You have to have a hustle on the side, a job on the side, something to do on the side, right? And when you're well established and saying you have a senior position, you are a director already in your regular day-to-day job, that is easier to do versus when you're just entering the workforce, you're entry level, you can't keep telling your boss, hey, I gotta go do this. Gotta go knock this door, gotta go to this fundraiser. I can't be in this meeting because they're less understanding when you're entry level, right? And so that's the kind of I think those are the barriers that stops young people from running, especially young people of color from running.
You're talking to a surviving artist and type 1 diabetic that has fought for healthcare so that I could be the mom that I am and give birth to a child in this system, a Black and brown girl, So we've been slanging CDs back when people listened to CDs out of our trunks. My grandmother came, from Puerto Rico, and her dream as an 8-year-old little girl trying to get a 3rd grade education, that was the only legal education. She didn't have no shoes, but she would still walk through those camps in the mountains to get to their school to be able to get a job. Okay. I got to go make about, 200 phone calls today and knock on about 100 doors to make sure that I've got what it takes financially to get through this campaign.
The political system is really set up for folks who can afford to just walk into office and not worry about money. And that is not the average person. That's not the average Minnesotan by any means whatsoever. For me personally, that was one of the first issues I had to think about when I decided to run for office, because this is one of the biggest ways that our system is flawed. And until more folks like us who don't have, a strong financial background, until we're better represented, it's just going to continue the cycle.
Like the people who have been in office for umpteen years who don't give a thought about stepping aside and allowing new and fresh and young people to rise up and be a part of the political process are doing a disservice to this country. And financially, I just think those of us who have tried it, have the responsibility now to help those who may be thinking it, who really may have the grit to run and the passion. We have a responsibility to step in and help them in whatever way we can.